What's up, guys? On today's video I want to do kind of a full project update on every different project we have going on around here on the shop, and also kind of talk about 2018 and what our goals for the channel are and what we're going to try to get done this year. So let's start off with the projects that are here in the garage, and then it's a pretty beautiful day as far as temperature goes. A little cloudy, but it's in the mid-60s here in Texas, so we're going to take advantage of that. I'm going to take you guys on a ride on the Triumph to go up and check on my Model A up in storage. So we'll do that in a minute, but we'll kind of start off with what's in the garage. So 69 Camaro, the main car project as of right now on the channel. Really, I have a few more things to do on this. Subframe connectors, rear sway bar, headliner. I want to upgrade the disc brakes. You know, I kind of did a whole project overview video. I'll throw a card up right now of what we're going to do on that. So you'll see quite a bit of that this year. We have the Triumph. There's a few things I want to do to the Triumph still. I mean, it is pretty much done, but I still need to kind of finalize what I want to do for mirrors. I still would love to turn this into the headlight for it. And that's going to be a bike that I plan on riding as much as I can. This year, I want to take it to some shows. I'll probably take it to the Hand-Built show in April. Maybe to, you know, if it kind of stays around the garage for long enough, maybe to the Twist-Off later in the year. That's normally in the fall. So the Triumph is here to stay for a good while and will be kind of a project that, you know, is more actually going out and enjoying it and documenting that process as opposed to building it. We still have our next motorcycle project over there. I will be revealing that project a little bit later this month. I'm kind of finalizing the plan for it, and basically we'll do a kind of introduction video and do some work on it, and then I'm going to have you guys kind of help design the bike as we go, so you guys can kind of collaborate with me and we can build the bike that we all want to see, as opposed to just me building what I want and then you guys hopefully liking it. I want to get some viewer involvement. So let's shoot over to the side of my house and we'll check on two bikes that are kind of living under a tarp over there. So it's a pretty sad sight over here. This is kind of the motorcycle graveyard that exists on the side of my house. This is a, I believe, 79 CX500 frame. I have the engine inside to try and keep it out of the weather. If you remember, and a lot of you guys are probably new to my channel and probably don't remember this bike, but I bought this bike as a package deal with another CB550 about a year ago, and basically I have an issue with the title on this bike. I have the title in my hand, but it's signed by the wrong person. Basically, it was owned by an older lady who passed away. Her son, her grandson inherited the bike, and then he signed the title, so it has her name on the front, his name signed on the back, and then unfortunately he passed away as well. So now kind of both people whose names on the title are no longer with us, and I can't transfer the title with the wrong name signed on it. So basically what I'm going to have to do is what's called a bonded title here in Texas. And I'm just starting to kind of look into that process. My buddy Dustin was kind of looking at buying this bike. He still might, but I'm just going to start kind of trying to get the paperwork right in the meantime. That way, when we build this bike, it'll be kind of ready to go. So basically, I'm going to start that process. Behind it is a 70, I'm pretty sure it's a 74 CB360 Honda. That bike is actually the very first motorcycle I ever bought. I bought it in as many pieces as you can possibly have a bike in. Motor was totally disassembled. Everything was totally taken apart by someone who you know, started the project and then never finished it. I'm also now in that boat of just never getting around to it because I don't have a title for that bike either. I bought that bike when I lived in Georgia. In Georgia, you don't have to have titles for anything older than like 20 or 25 years old. It's just a bill of sale only is totally fine. Here in Texas, you do have to have a title for it. So I'm actually going to do a bonded title process on that bike as well. I'll just knock them out at the same time. And at least while they're sitting here on the side of the house, we can be kind of getting the paperwork right. And I plan on building that bike eventually. I will have to totally disassemble and rebuild the whole engine because it's total garbage, which is why it was kind of taken apart in the first place and was put back together incorrectly. So it's going to need a lot of motor work. It may even need a completely different engine. We'll have to kind of figure that out as we go. But I do plan on building that bike and keeping it because it's the first bike I ever bought and I don't want to get rid of it. And I think a little CB360, you know, built up like a little street tracker or something could be a super fun bike to keep around. So these are the two on the side of the house. Now let's keep on moving. So we'll go ahead and include this in the project video as well because I do have some stuff planned for it this year. This is my 2013 Ram 2500 diesel. We've done a few things to it on the channel so far, but I really haven't focused on it since we've been kind of working on classic stuff. But this year I want to do a lift, bigger wheels and tires, DPF EGR delete, maybe swap in a leather interior, some stereo upgrades. So we have a lot of stuff planned for the truck. And I'll kind of spread those videos around and kind of throw them in as we do it. But I wanted to kind of throw that in there as well. So I will kind of include this garage as a project as well because we are pretty unorganized in here. I mean, it's not too terribly bad, but I really could do a whole lot better with all of this. So we'll kind of document the process of I'm probably going to tear all of this stuff out, maybe get one of those little like storage pods or something in the driveway, paint all the walls, maybe epoxy the floors, and then build kind of better storage and get rid of some of the stuff I don't use. Like I don't really ever use the sandblasting cabinet, stuff like that. I like to maybe get a shed on the side of my house I can kind of have for like deep storage because I am a bit of a hoarder, but it comes in handy when building bikes to have kind of a stash of a bunch of random motorcycle parts. So we'll include this garage as kind of an upgrade that will happen sometime in 2018 as well. All right, so we talked about the Camaro, the 4 motorcycles I have here around the house, the truck, and then the garage itself. The last project that I currently own that I don't know if it'll be started in 2018 or not, but we'll at least kind of give you guys a quick walk around and show you that I do have it and I do plan on building it at some point, and that is my Model A. So we're going to fire up the Triumph and take it for a little ride and go to the storage place and check it out. Before we get going, I need to put on my motorcycle gear, so we'll start with a jacket. Alright, that's better. I have an Amazon link. Basically I have a whole store on Amazon that has all of the parts I use, the tools I use, the riding gear, everything basically. If it's a part that's available or you know, something on my channel that's available on Amazon, it's going to be, you know, that first link in the description. You can go and check that stuff out if you're ever curious about the stuff I'm using. You can do that. So we got the jacket on. Next step now is going to be gloves. Alright, got my gloves on. This is working pretty well. Now, let's go for the helmet. There we go. Now we got it. Let's go for a ride. So we made it, and I'm on my GoPro now, so I'm sure the audio isn't great, but I'll try to speak up, and we'll get as much of this as we can before, you know, hopefully my GoPro battery doesn't die. But here is my, this is my car trailer. First thing, I'm actually going to be doing a couple projects on this. I'd like to put a winch and stuff on the front to make it easier to get cars that aren't running on and off. But this is the 31 Model A. It is a 5-window coupe, as you can see. It's definitely rough. I mean, definitely salvageable, but also a big project. I do have the hood and everything for it. It's actually in the back of my truck, just because I didn't want it out here in the elements and something that's easy to steal off of it. Where I had this car stored before, I actually did have some parts stolen out of it. I had a couple spare doors and an extra wheel, and that got stolen right out of it. And then also I think they were attempting to steal the car but didn't get it out. So so I'm lucky that it didn't get stolen. But this is going to be a long-term project, like I said. To be completely honest with you, I don't even think I'll probably start it this year, just because I have so much other stuff going on. And then what I'll talk about here in a little bit later in the video is kind of my plans for an actual workspace, and you know, kind of a bigger shop for us to be able to do bigger projects like this, and not try to do it all in a little 2-car garage. But you can see there is some cancer I'm going to have to fix. You know, we'll end up chopping probably 4 inches out of it, so a lot of this we can get away with cutting out when we chop it, but still a good amount of work to be done. But yeah, this is one of those long-term Classic Octane projects. I have tons of ideas in my head of building it into like a car that can actually be like raced and autocrossed, like a full tube chassis underneath it, or going more like traditional, like 50s style hot rod. Odds are the small block and the 4-speed that's in the 69 Camaro will end up in this car after we do an LS swap in that. So tons of ideas floating around, but I wanted to make sure this was included in the video. I've owned this car for like 3 years, and it's been in this exact condition. So it's one of my bucket list cars. The 69 Camaro, 31 Model A are 2 of the like 5 bucket list cars that I have. And so was the Triumph Hardtail. So pretty awesome that we already have kind of 3 out of the 5. But yeah, so that's going to be this project. Kind of just a short little walk around, and hopefully we'll get to working on that soon. Hopefully the video turned out decent of me riding the bike. As you can see, it rides really well. I mean, I haven't had any issues with it. You know, it's a little grumpy to start sometimes when it's cold, but overall it's really not bad. So I'm really enjoying this. We'll head back to the garage now, and I'll kind of talk through some of my other 2018 plans and what you guys can expect to see on the channel. We made it back home. The Triumph did fantastic all the way there, but then on the way home it started misfiring a little bit. It was like really bogging down and was really kind of down on power. So I'm gonna have to look into that at some point. Unfortunately, I think it's gonna get cold for a little while again, so I won't be able to ride it, but we'll have to look into that, see what might be going on, see if you know, maybe our coil might be going bad or something. It could also just be the tune in this weather is you know, it's a lot different than when I finished the bike and I first started riding it and we tuned it for that. I also need to, here, I'll just show you. So this tube right in the middle of the cylinders here, in between the 2 exhaust ports, is leaking a little bit. So that is the push rod that kind of comes up and actuates the exhaust valves on this side. There's another one on the intake side as well. They have little O-rings on the bottom of them that kind of seat down into the crankcase, and I can actually see that this one is pulled up a little bit, and it's causing a pretty significant oil leak. You can see some oil down here on the actual crankcase itself, and it's kind of run down underneath. I'll show you here. You can kind of see it all the way down onto the frame there, and then actually dripping onto the ground. So we definitely want to address that sooner than later. I don't think that has anything to do with our misfire. So we'll have to see if we can figure out what is causing that. It could be kind of a few different things. It could be electronics related, like the coil starting to go bad, because typically if a coil starts to go bad, it's later in a ride, it'll fire up and it'll ride fine, but as the coil gets hot, it'll actually start to go bad. So it could be that. It could be I've had bikes misfire because of exhaust or vacuum leaks as well. I had a CB750 that I was trying to track a misfire down for like 2 months, and I finally figured out that it was the exhaust gasket was like letting extra air in, or not sealing properly, or whatever it was, but somehow it was creating a misfire. I replaced it, the misfire went away. So I want to check. I think one of these exhaust pipes may have kind of rattled itself loose a little bit. So we'll kind of double check a couple of different things, but I'm not going to put all that in this video. Odds are I'm not going to fix it for another month or so anyway, because we have a lot of other stuff going on. So, yep, overall, Triumph's doing pretty well, but we got a little bit more to do. As we continue to ride the bike, I'm sure we'll find more and more stuff we want to tweak and try to get it as perfect as we possibly can. So 2018 goals. I have quite a few. I'm not really setting any like super strict goals. Basically just kind of like an overall general idea of what I want to try to get done. Revolving the channel and growing it and kind of all of that stuff. So first one of those is I want to continue to build motorcycles. Obviously, you guys will be happy to hear that. I want to start to kind of flip them a little bit more frequently and kind of show you guys the whole process of making money building motorcycles. So it's going to be from how I find them, following that process, buying them, getting the parts. I'm going to be very kind of transparent on building them and what it takes and the time spent and that kind of stuff. So I can kind of help you guys if you want to build motorcycles and try and make some money on the side and stuff. You can do that. I do want to flip some cars as well. So I'm looking for, I have a few cars I have kind of my eye on now. I want to stick with the theme of the channel of being kind of classic cars or unique cars. So I'm not going to flip a Honda Accord or something like that. And like, no offense to you that drive Honda Accords, but nobody's really like super interested in that. So I'm going to keep it to, we'll call them exotic cars. I don't mean like Lamborghinis and stuff. I mean like Corvettes and like stuff that's kind of more every man's fun vehicle. It's a little bit more unique, but not like super hard to get to the point of being able to purchase. So I want to flip some of those. I want to try to flip some classic cars, and that can be anything from just buying it, getting it running, fixing some cosmetic stuff, and shipping it, all the way to some kind of more in-depth stuff. That leads me into wanting to expand our operation here. So let's talk about that a little bit. So I want to expand not only physically, as in getting a bigger space, which is on my goal list for 2018, is to one of two different ways. I'm either going to get into a position where I can afford to buy a new house and kind of have a space where I can build a shop on the land. That's the little bit more of a stretch goal, especially for this year. But the more achievable goal is actually finding a space to lease. So I live in North Austin, and there's quite a few different little industrial kind of areas that you can rent shop space in. There's one like 2 miles from my house that actually the first place I ever worked is a little Mustang shop. They're still there, and I believe rent's pretty reasonable there. A little bit north of me, it gets kind of out into the country pretty quickly, and so renting some kind of warehouse space out there isn't unheard of as far as getting it at a reasonable price. My wife also has some goals for her business as well, so we might be able to kind of team up, and that'll help justify the cost of a warehouse space a little bit better. The idea of that is obviously to be able to do bigger projects. I would like to have a lift, because putting the transmission in this car without a lift was totally doable, but man, it made me really want to have a 4-post lift. When I used to be a mechanic full-time, I didn't realize how incredible it is to have that. So that's kind of one of my goals, to be able to do that. And then again, like I said, house some more projects, some bigger stuff. I want to expand the store side of my business as well. So let's talk about that a little bit. So what I mean by expanding out the store is I want to not only sell my own shirts and, you know, hats and that kind of stuff, I also want to actually sell the parts that I use. So I would like to build out kind of like an online motorcycle store where I actually sell you know, some parts that I make myself. I'm thinking about you know, starting to supply the frame hoops and those little LED diodes I was talking about when you switch to kind of LED turn signals to make sure your indicator light still works. I want to start to make those and sell them. I want to kind of manufacture some parts. So that will be kind of part of what will go into this potential warehouse. Would be kind of an operation of, you know, starting with me, but ideally, and again, this is probably way longer than 2018 goal, but is to have a little operation where we can kind of build some parts and we can turn Classic Octane into kind of more of a business that I can make YouTube videos, flip cars, flip motorcycles, and then sell clothes, motorcycle parts, all that kind of stuff. I don't really have a desire to have like a motorcycle shop where people bring their bikes to me and then I build them for them exactly, because then you have to deal with customers and what the customers want to do, and they may want you to build a bike that's not your style, and I would rather continue to build bikes the way I want to build them and then sell them when they're done, than have to deal with a customer and deal with their deadlines and their budgets and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't really interest me right now. That might change in the future, but as of right now, I'm really not interested in going that route. More of again, the parts and accessories and clothing, and then my own projects that we build, make videos on, and then sell and kind of document that whole process as well. So that's my big goal. A couple of years from now, you know, might expand into something I can do full time, but as of right now, the goal is to kind of continue to build it and have fun with it and kind of see where we can take it. Alright guys, well that's kind of the overview of what I plan to work on and accomplish in 2018. I would love for you guys to you know, comment below on what you want to see, what your goals are. I want to start to kind of build this into a community where we all kind of encourage each other to build motorcycles and work on cars and have fun with it. My main goal this year is have as much fun as I possibly can. So that's going to mean like going to more events. I want to start to make more videos outside of the garage of us, you know, taking the Triumph places, racing the car, you know, whatever it is, exploring other motorcycle shops around town. You know, who knows what we're going to kind of get into, but my main goal is to kind of get out, have as much fun as possible, not stress too much about certain deadlines or certain, you know, amount of videos a week or whatever it is. I kind of want to just make enjoyable content to watch, and I hope you guys are kind of along for the ride, so to speak. If you have any questions about kind of projects of what I have going on, hit me up. Like I said, check out that link for all the Amazon stuff I use. I'm just going to start putting that in every video, just that one link. It'll be a whole lot easier for you guys to find the parts I'm using. Keep an eye out for a lot of videos coming soon. I have some big kind of plans for new motorcycles and potential new car projects and all kinds of stuff in the very, very near future. So again, thanks for watching guys, and we'll see you soon, and I'm looking forward to a fun 2018.